sigma iota omicron omicron iota omicron sigma sigma omega omicron nu omega epsilon eta iota nu iota nu eta eta nu iota sigma sigma iota nu omega epsilon nu omicron epsilon alpha iota omicron epsilon iota nu omega eta epsilon nu omega epsilon epsilon sigma omicron iota sigma iota nu iota sigma sigma alpha epsilon alpha omicron kappa epsilon iota epsilon iota omicron eta epsilon omicron sigma iota alpha nu epsilon omicron kappa iota sigma nu iota epsilon eta alpha omicron eta iota sigma eta nu eta alpha omicron sigma iota omega nu omicron epsilon epsilon sigma sigma omicron kappa iota epsilon iota sigma omicron kappa iota sigma epsilon iota alpha eta alpha iota alpha omicron sigma alpha omega omicron nu omicron epsilon iota alpha omega iota omicron gang iota omega alpha epsilon alpha epsilon omicron.
Each one of us is here for a reason. But you don't belong here.
And we've walked into a trap.
And it's chasing you to touch the slip of your garment because you are the one. The irony is, of course, that as I speak this sentence, tens of thousands of people worldwide are insane and they all feel they are the chosen one. So something is not right there. Dreaming, but on steroids. You're chosen to do a bazillion things. You get a million
hearing voices calling out to me. I was shocked, but I wasn't overwhelmed. I thought it was a divine experience, and I was chosen because I was special.
And we've walked into a trap. And we've walked into a trap.
One out. Greetings to you. I have a topic about mind control gangs in Iraq, which is the biggest catastrophe that history has ever known. Firstly, they are the only ones who use these weapons to kill the people for a long period of more than 12 years, and they do this without anyone knowing that they were expecting that this method will remain hidden, or that their secret weapon will remain a secret and nobody knows. The Iraqi people falling without any reasons, and these dirty gangs are behind this is not a catastrophe that cannot be described anywhere. Secondly, these gangs stole Iraq's money to develop these weapons, and they are experimenting with methods of killing and harming the sons of the people. Also were used for the purposes of slavery and the exploitation of children after planting slides on them by this filthy devil family that they are an epidemic that does not wish for any friend that is see these dirty forms or fall in them. Of course, this gang is an intelligence network that was affiliated with the previous regime and was the one who ruled for centuries a long time ago, but it disappeared after the application of the international resolution on Iraq. But after the international forces left Iraq, it returned again, and it was also who was attacking these forces in Iraq. To Iraqi people incite them by spreading lies and rumors. Of course, their return was certainly while they're wearing various types of masks, and from them are the most famous of them is that they are organized, but without a specific name, and their return was the first thing they did. They stuck themselves to security under the pretext that they cooperated voluntarily, and thus they penetrated security and corrupted it. They spoil all something in them. I mean, any institution they enter into spoils the law directly in them, and then their street gangs appeared, and as I said, they spoiled security, but every institution can hold them accountable as well. 3 at 2. It is intended to get food only, but it brings the water woman here the same thing. The victim runs after a goal, and this run benefits a gang only, but he will not get anything. Of course, every victim of choice has a life cycle inside this gang, consisting of 2 stages. Here's also important: the first stage, which is very secretive, and the gang is keen that the victim will not know anything, but rather make it live in a world of illusion, using it, as I said, all kinds of lies so that you never feel what happened on top of her head. Of course, at this stage a position of the victim is forged and she does not know about it and has no authority over him, but there is a person from this gang who will make himself a guard for her or an agent, and it is he who will act what he wants only and not absolutely what the victim wants, but he will invent his lie that the victim works in the unseen or makes himself a translator for her actions so that, for example, when we eat or drink or take something or money or live etc. here this guardian spy says that these actions are from God and he gives orders he wants and the victim does not know anything, and as I said from the beginning, the gang makes the victim run after crusts that will not reach, for example, an order or something you love. That is why you will not know something or pay attention to the danger in falsifying the position. Of course, this is the first stage. As for the second, it is the stage during which the victim will be educated because a group of this gang will start attacking the victim, and the reason is that the gang will say that God gave half of the position to another person who is a homosexual security agent, and this will attack the victim and he wants to take the remaining half of it here. The victim will know and start complaints and say that everyone is against her or the victim's family and friends, or she is going to report 4 out 3 about this gang, and no one takes any complaints from it and does not do anything to her and does not find anyone to help her. For example, it is also published that she has gone crazy or a mental illness. Also, the gang begins with the use of mind control for harm through torture programs and the destruction of the brain through sounds or sex program or programs. Confusion and emotional change are also diseases, reading ideas and imposing them, also dreams and other different outlaw programs that the victim afflicts due to mind control. In addition to the DNA is contaminated, and thus I consider it a crime that this gang are killing him. Here I have something to say, and it is first, and it is the reason that others do not interfere back until they see the victim as a person who has a position and has followers, or haven't. What is going on is just a competition between two parties or a rival equal. While this is not true, the victim does not have any position at all. Another thing is that the family of the victim and everyone who you know who became against it were all made with this gang, or they follow orders from them, but this was in the first stage, which the victim did not feel, but she felt that she knew this in the second stage, and perhaps vice versa. They were respecting her. In a way, it is not normal, and the victim does not know the main reason, and perhaps she thought that this was because she had become chosen from this gang, for example, or that this is a gift from God, for example, while the truth is that they were all implementing the orders of the gang, which was the one who gave them orders to be against it. But the issue of publishing that she suffers from mental illness, the reason is that the victim says that she is a victim only, and this is the truth, but the gang forged her position throughout the first stage of this intent. This is because the victim had a mental illness that made her lose her mind and forget that she had a position or was leading a group. 6 very dirty games carried out by this gang. Of course, I noticed something which is falsifying many characteristics to the victim in the first stage, so that a statue of lies is built around the victim that makes her a superman or an unusual person and knows the unseen etc., so that even some of the victims believe this even though it is not. It is true, but what will happen in the second stage is for the gang to demolish the statue, so that it will make the victim as if nothing and distort its reputation. Of course, this is the way the gang with each victim is chosen, and this is repeated. I mean, some people may think that he is with one victim because he was mistaken or removed by God. This is not true, because firstly, it entered into a gang that has nothing to do with God, but pretends to be falsely that they are a terrorist gang only. Second, whether the victim erred or not, or even if she walked on the road, the same one will be. It is a scenario that is repeated with every victim of choice. Of course, this is important to everyone knows about it, so that every victim knows that the issue of choice is only a game, and this is what they say to her is a scenario they say to many, not only her, but she thinks that she is alone. So many victims follow the methods of fraud for the stick of Hashi. It is indescribable that they are lying a lot. Professionals now cheat. I reach another point. It is a legal view of what is happening. Of course, there is something wrong. It is similar to a slave bang from the old time returning again, but it works secretly, as you know that the time of slavery was in the gangs that hunted people, so that enslaved them and sold and bought them. These gangs were operating in public because the law was a mistake, because it is not considered this illegal thing. The same thing now, but it is secretly this gang. When you prey on any victim, you register for it as if it became a slave to them, and it is their right.
There's a lot of celebrity voices as well. People like Will Ferrell, Emma Thompson, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and even our past Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. It was funny, when I was talking to him, he was busy telling me I was a brat, because all I would do was bug him, saying like, "How are you doing today?" And he's like, "I'm busy." He'd always say that to me. But if that was real, right? Things became rocky.
Like all organs in the human body, the brain receives oxygen and nutrition from
For the past 5 years, I think people have been watching me, and I hear their voices. I feel completely violated by them. I started calling them voyeurs. I have up to 50 voyeurs, and I do talk to them out loud on a daily basis. I hear voices coming from outside. I hear voices coming from these woods as well. I feel like they're coming somewhere from like the hood area. I hear them telling me that my kitchen needs to be cleaned. My voyeurs are harassing, rude.
7 ad. 6 that they do everything with them until they're killing, but the law does not interfere because this victim has lost all her civil rights and has become a slave who has no right to anything, even things of his own, such as the phone, email, social media, etc. This gang is controlled by something strange that everyone here knows, but this is not announced. I mean, what this gang does in Iraq is something unimportant to him, but the law has nothing to do. For example, placing segments on the victim without approval from them, something completely out of the law. And this, of course, I forgot to say something, and there are false arguments made by the gang, which is, for example, that she hides the real gold for her. For example, she says that the victim works for them, but she does not say what she does or how much is the salary. For example, or they claim that the victim belongs to them, but with the laws of the gang, which are completely different from many known affiliation methods. For example, we all know that whoever wants to belong to any organization or association goes for he requests affiliation with them or calls them and then learns the laws that they have and signs the registration form etc. and knows what he or she has. But the situation is completely different with this gang because they have wrong laws and trap or hunts with it. For example, some victims pray with them or read and drink from the elements belonging to them or live or take a need or some money or even visit a friend of his and he does not know that he is with this gang or speaks etc. All these things are not known at all, but the gang considers it the justification for enslavement to the victim. The problem is that every day it adds new paragraphs to it when their hunting becomes few here. I return and say that what happens inside Iraq is completely unparalleled and the reason is that this gang is the one that governs Iraq with this law as only a servant.
Say, Ollie.
What?
You know what?
What?
I've decided that I'm not going to find any bull.
Get back in that ring! Now go ahead out there and fight that bull. Go on. That guy's Hardy, the Flatfoot from Peoria.
Oh, no.
And the other guy's Laurel, the guys that sent me up for 20 years.
Now, Richard, take control of yourself.
Control myself, you...
Hey!